This video is brought to you with support from my patrons on Patreon. Hey everybody, it's Jimmy from the DIY and Digital, and today I'm showing you how to use SCARM. Welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be going over my model railroading software of choice, which is SCARM, and this is just one that I learned on and have become accustomed to. There are many others that you can try, such as AnyRail. If you're a Mac user, Rail Modeler Pro is a good one. But we're going to be talking about SCARM today, which is what I use to do my designs. And if you've seen my 3D renderings of my model railroads, I do those in SCARM. I'm going to show you why I like it. I'm going to show you the basics of planning your model railroad. And we're going to show you how to do those little 3D animations that I do as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, everybody, welcome to SCARM. Now, SCARM stands for Simple Computer Aided Railway Modeler. And what it basically is there is a free version that allows you to use up to 50 different pieces that it has in its library to design your model railroad. You can also pay to have unlimited pieces. So let's go ahead and get started and looking at the interface itself. The first thing you're going to notice is this big section over here on the left, and what it has right here is these are all your track pieces. Now this particularly is set to Atlas HO code 83, which you can see right here, and if I hover over it, it gives us all of our information for it. It says it's the snap track system, the gauge, and all of that. So what we're going to do first is we're going to click right here, and what this does is it brings up all of the scales that SCARM has in this library that it has track for. So everything from, we have F and G, both of the G's, 122.5 and 129th. There's also, when you go in here, you can see that it has the different brands. So for G scale, for example, we have Bachmann, we have LGB, we have Lionel's G gauge, we have Pico, all those, even ones that really maybe not be there anymore. There's Playmobil, there's Proline. So when we go into HO, you can see there's quite a lot, everything from Atlas to Bachmann to Fleischmann to Markland to Lionel, Lifelike, Kato, Pico, all of those are in there. And you can see like you have all the different scales. All the different variants. You have HON3 right there, you have your micro engineering narrow gauge track, and then you also have your 1/32. You have all these different things. You've even got Lego scale, and you got the different types of Lego. When you go into O scale, you've got your Atlas, your Bachmann, your Lionel, your MTH, things like that. On your O, you got your Bachmann, your Hornby, your Pico. You got a lot of different ones here. Even on Z scale, you've got Atlas, Markland, Microtrains, all of those right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to select one of these. And for this example, I'm going to build with Atlas Code 83 Snap Track system right here. And you can see they also have the code 100 right here. But we're going to go ahead and select the Atlas Code 83. And what that does is it populates the entire section over here with your track. So the next thing we need to do is we need to set up our base. Now you can do whatever type of base that you want, but what we're going to do in this case is we are going to go and we're going to create our baseboard. So I click Edit and I scroll down to Create Baseboard. Now you can see right up here I have a measurement ruler right here across as well as down. Now right now those are set to inches and are marked in 6-inch increments for the numbered marks. Now you can change that out by just going to Tools, Settings, and you can go to your dimensions and your measurement units. You can select millimeters or inches, and you can also change your grid step. For instance, in inches you can go 5 inches, 6 inches, 12 inches, or even do a custom set. So I'm going to keep it with 6 inches, but if you want to do millimeters, the standard ones they have are 100, 500, and 1 meter. And then you can also do your custom one as well. You also have a selection for gradients where you have percentage or thousands. For flex track, it shows your radius / angle and your length / angle. So we're going to keep that on radius right there. And then I'm going to switch that back to inches, and we're going to click OK. All right, so we have our track selected. Let's go ahead and restart our baseboard process. Remember, Edit, Create Baseboard, and that's going to give us our options. Now I like to start everything at the 0. Now I'm moving this around in the baseboard creation by holding down my middle button, which is the roller on the mouse and holding it down. It's the number 3 button on your mouse. Some mouses have it, some don't. So, but I'm going to go ahead and get the zeros right up here because I'm going to start at 0 and 0. Now, I love these little arrows that it has because it makes it easy to line up when you're doing your baseboard. And I'm just going to click, and we now have a start point. And I'm going to go all the way across to 96, which is 8 feet. And we are lined up on the 0 and the 96. I'm going to click, and then there is our first corner. And then I'm going to go down to 48. I'm going to click, make sure I'm lined up. Second corner, I'm going to stay at 48, and then I'm going to go to 0, sticking on that 48, click, and then I'm going to move back up to 0 and 0, and then I'm going to right click actually, and you can see that our baseboard goes blue, and now we have the baseboard established. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start putting down some track. Now there's a couple ways that you can do this. So I'm going to be doing 22-inch radius track on this. So what I can do is sometimes it'll tell you what the radius is based on its number, but what this typically is the product number of the whatever you are using. So I'm going to hover over some of these, and you can see that I have my 18-inch radius snap curves, and I have my 22-inch right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click it. This is the first way you can bring track on here. So I'm going to click, I'm going to drag and drop, and boom, it's right there. Now, that's great. Another way to do it is you see this little red arrow right up here at the top in your toolbar. You have this red arrow, and that says new start point. So I'm going to click that, and you can see that I get a crosshair, and I'm going to click right there. And I'm clicking and holding right now. If I were to just click, it would automatically go that direction. If I'm clicking and holding, I'm able to turn and have the start direction be in any direction, but we're gonna line it back up this direction. So there we have our start point, which means now I can go back over here. I can go to the 22-inch radius snap curves right there, and I can click it, and then it gives us this option of it wants to turn left or turn right. And we're going to turn right because turning left would go off the layout. So I'm going to go ahead and click. Then I'm going to select the end. You can see the ends have arrows on them. So I'm going to go ahead and click and get that highlighted and click. All I'm doing is adding right turns. As you can see, it's doing a great job right there. Now I could continue going in a circle, but the first thing I need to do is I need to move this into position. So what I'm going to do is I highlight everything, and you have to highlight the entire piece of track to be able to highlight it. So let's say I wanted to highlight these two pieces of track right here. I click and drag my box. If I don't go over it, it's only going to highlight that one. If I highlight both of them in their entirety, then I get two. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to drag our box all the way over it, and then I'm going to right click and click move. And now you can see I can move this anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this right here. And then I need another set of turns right here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to Control C and then Control V. And now it has actually layered a second set of these connected all on top. So I'm going to right click again and move, and all of a sudden this other one appears. It was actually laying on top, but it looks like it just appeared. So remember, that's a copy paste function. But now I need to rotate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure it's all highlighted, and we're going to right click and we're going to click rotate. And then we're going to rotate it all the way around to 180 degrees. And you can see you can do any angle, you can go any direction. I just need it to go 180 degrees, and then we're going to move it roughly into position. So what I want to do here is I want to have some industries coming off of this side and a passing siding over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my turnouts, which it has all of Atlas's turnouts right here. And I'm going to grab some number 4 turnouts. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this one on by simply clicking. So I'll grab the 561 number 4, and I need to pick the start point as the convergence point rather than the one of the divergent points. And that's one way to do that. And then another way you can do that, like I said, is you can drag and drop and place them right there. Now let's say that I wanted to connect these sections. So the first way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do a few sections of track right there. And we'll add one right there. Now you can see that I went a little overboard right there. All I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. And that still may be a bit too much, so we're going to delete this 521 piece by highlighting it and pressing the delete. And I'm going to grab this 522 and put it right there. Highlight this whole unconnected section, and when I move it, you can see, I'm actually going to zoom in on this. When I move this whole section, you can see once it lines up, they go red and green, and once they're like that, they'll connect. All you have to do is click. So we have this section, and we need to finish this off. Now this is a number 4, so it does not have a standard curve that goes with it or a curve that's going to go back. So we're going to use a piece of flex track to do that. The first thing I need to do for the flex track is I need to select its start point. And so for that, I'm either going to pick this side or this side. It doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this side, and then I'm going to go up to here where it says flex wood. You also have an option for concrete ties. And I'm going to click it, and boom, we have a big long section of flex track. Now obviously we don't want it going straight like that. And we are going to, you can see that when we move, that it takes the curve with us. And if you'll notice, it's also telling us our radius. So as I get tighter and tighter and tighter, you see we're down to 25, 24, 23, 20, 19, 18, 17, keeps going. So the easiest way to connect a section of flex track, especially when it has the length to do it, is to literally just run it to here. And you can see that as soon as I scroll where my cursor is over, it automatically snaps to the connection. Now, I want a little bit of straight in there, so I don't want this long, exaggerated curve. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back this way. So I'm going to left click once I get this done right here, and then there's that set. So that point is set. And then I want to come to here, about right here, that should be good. I'll click again, and then I just scroll over until we have the matchup icon right there, and we now have the flex track put into place. So that is how we do flex track. Now let's go over here and put in some industries. We're going to put in 2 sidings. I'm going to use number 6 turnouts for this, so I'm going to drag and drop them. So you can see that I grab a number 6 left-hand turnout, and I drag it till the arrows light up, and it snaps into place. Now for this one, because I'd have to rotate it and maybe do some weird things, I'm going to click the right-hand turnout, and I'm going to say that it wants to connect at the straight divergence. And there we go. And one thing you can do is you could try to match the sections to the track. And you would eventually get it, like I just did. But rather than trying to guess and check that entire system, and that's totally fine if you want to do that, especially if you don't want to use flex track. I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to scroll until it matches, and click, and there we go. So we have a mix of set track and flex track, but let's say that you just wanted to use this to guess the radius and try to get that set, and then you wanted to really do everything in flex track. So I'm going to show you something really cool you can do here. So we're going to take one of these curves, and I'm going to highlight the entire curve right here. And then I'm going to go to Tools, and then I'm going to go Convert Sectional to Flexes. And it has my options for what are selected. I'm going to select the Flex Wood. I'll say the automatic conversion is a one-way operation. Do you want to continue? Yes. And there we go. We have the entire flex converted. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some sidings. And one thing that I like to do with sidings is, again, use the flex track, but you can also use your regular turns. So I'm going to use some 18-inch radius turns off of this one at first. So we're going to do some right-hand turns. And then we're going to click and add some straights right there. Now I want to do a different industry, but let's say there's a hill right here. So we need to climb this hill to this industry right here. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our flex track, and we are just going to kind of work with our curve, make sure it's still in line with what we need to do. So that's about a 20-inch radius right there, and that's as far as that one's going to go. And then we're going to do another, we're going to tighten a little bit to 19 right there. And so there we have a nice curve. Now I want this curve to be slowly going uphill and go about maybe raise 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is, you can see that I have these little numbers right here. Now those are turned on by this little button right here. You can see if I click that and I highlight over it, it's called Track Heights. So I will click that, and you can see that I get that right there. Now if I have just this section highlighted, just a single section highlighted like this, it's only going to affect this section. So if I click this, you can see I'm actually doing a roll up on my mouse. And you can see that once it's telling me the percentage of the grade that it's making. And once I get to 2.5%, it tells me, okay, this is definitely a tougher grade. This is something that you really need to reconsider. And if you keep going, you get to 4, then it goes into a dark maroon reddish color, and that's like, okay, this is not a good grade. So let's scroll it back down, and we're going to go all the way down because I don't want to modify just this one piece. I want to modify both of these pieces, so I'm going to highlight both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get both of those highlighted, and I want you to watch this number right here. I'm just going to adjust this number, and I want to get this up 1.5 inches. So I'm going to begin scrolling until I get to the point that I need to be. So I'm at 1 inch, getting close. And right there, we're at 1.5 inches. And you can see right here it's 1.5, and then over here you can see it says 0.75. So it has adjusted this entire section to be a gradual rise. So this entire section is that grade, that 2%. That is what that is. And then when I need to attach additional track, I'm going to attach some straight sections right here to be where the industry is. You can see that they're set at that 1.5. So there we go. And I really need to illustrate better what this looks like. So what I'm going to do is, you can see this button right here that says 3D. I'm going to click that. So this gives us a 3D rendering of the layout. And some of you may recognize this because this is what a lot of my 3D renderings of my layouts look like. This is where I get them from. This is where I do my virtual layout runs when I'm designing a new layout. And you can see that we have a nice grade and that the terrain is snapped to it, and that's where it goes. Now we're going to go back out. Now let's say that one of these sections we don't want as a just going up the hill. We want let's say one section is going over a little gully and needs a bridge. So let's go ahead and zoom in on our section right here. So I'm going to pick this section for where a bridge is going to be. And you can see that we have these icons up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this icon that looks like a bridge because it's bridge. And you can see that this becomes gray. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that in the 3D view. Rather than having the terrain snap to it, you can see now that we have a little bridge right there. And you can do this for as long or as short as you like. So that is how you do a bridge. Now, another thing that a lot of us like to put on our layout is tunnels. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a tunnel. Now, tunnels are very similar to bridges, and all you have to do is highlight the sections of track that you want them to be on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, we'll just say these 3 sections right here. And I want these 3 to be my tunnel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back up here to our toolbar, and you can see right next to the bridge icon is the tunnel icon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that. I accidentally had an additional one highlighted, but we're going to click that. And what you see right here is that we have these little C's, which are actually the tunnel entrances and exits right there. And you can see now that it's red, and if I click on it, that it is grayed out. I think I accidentally turned off the bridge there. There we go. Had to turn the bridge back on. So now we have this grayed out section, which is the tunnel. And if we go back into the 3D view, so you have my bridge, and then you can see the tunnel automatically takes the terrain up on it. So that is how you do a tunnel in SCARM. Now, this was great, but what if I wanted this to be a hill that this track is trying to round, that this was just cut out to get to this industry? So I want to put a hill right here. So how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our menu over here. The way that this does it is you're not going to do a rounded hill, you're going to do kind of a terraced hill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Figures, which is at the bottom. You can see all the way at the bottom right there. And we're going to select Polygon. So this is just like drawing the baseboard. What we're going to do is we're going to just start clicking different vertices, and we're going to go all the way around. And we're going to go until we get right here. And we're going to right click, and then we get this little menu right here. And you can see we have vertical position and height. I don't want you to worry about the height right now. I don't want you to worry about the color right now. What we're going to do for the vertical position is we're going to type, let's say we want a 4-inch high hill. So I'm going to do 4. So that's the position of the very base of this shape. So the bottom of it is 4. And then if you want any additional height, then you would type it right here. And if you want it to be a different color, you type it right there. The trick we're going to use here is we're going to do snap terrain to bottom. So what we have here is the terrain is going to snap up and attach itself to the entire bottom of this shape. So we're going to click OK, and let me show you what that looks like. Go to our 3D view, and you can see now we have an elevation change right there. And you can see the shape is actually right here, but the terrain is all snapping up to it. So that is how you do a hillside in SCARM, and if you wanted to add another layer to it, all you have to do is go to Polygon and draw you another section. And we'll say the vertical position is 6 because we want it to be 2 inches higher than the initial 4-inch terrace. Won't worry about the height, won't worry about the color, but make sure to activate that snap terrain to bottom. And now we have that, and we go to our 3D view, and you can see now we have a multi-layered hill. So let's say you want to really get detailed with your plan and plan out vegetation and things like that. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we're going to go to our main menu right here. We're going to scroll all the way down to Objects, and you can see we have a lot of signals and all sorts of things. We've got US, UK, Dutch, Italian, German, Bulgarian. We have all sorts of lamps, we have compasses, we have trees, we have roads, all that kind of stuff. Road signs, symbols, all sorts of stuff. We're going to select trees. And you see that we get this wide selection of trees that are not put into any scale. This is just the tree size. So what we're going to do is we're literally just going to drag and drop them wherever they want. Now, I like clusters of different size, different shaped, and different number of trees. I really prefer odd-numbered trees. That's typically looks the best when it's a cluster of 3 or 5 or 7 or something like that. Those typically look really good because They look a little bit more organic than an even number of trees. So I'm going to put some of these trees just all over the place. I'm not going to go too crazy here, but these are all I'm putting in deciduous trees. You can also put in fir trees or pine trees, so conifers, things like that. You can do different things such as that. And I'm going to put those, just a few of them. Just around right there. So when I go back into my 3D view, now we've got some vegetation and our layout's starting to really look like a virtual representation of what we want. Now, what's one thing that this layout is missing? Buildings. So how do we do buildings? Well, we're going to go back to figures, and I'm going to select rectangle. Now, you can custom draw a building just like we did with the hills and polygon, but I'm going to do a rectangle because I'm going to put a little station on this passing siding. So I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to click and hold and draw a box. Now, rather than adjusting the vertical position, I'm going to adjust the height, and I'm going to make it 3 inches tall. And I'm going to make the building just a light gray just for representation. And then we're going to click OK. So right there, we have just a blank placeholder of a building that can be a station. So that is how we do that. So if I want to add a roof, first thing I need to do is I need to select the building right here. And you can see I have this roof option. So if I click that, and we're going to click, these are our different roof lines, and we're going to, let's click the half-hipped one. I like that. You can see that and it instantly drops the roof on there. And when I go into my 3D rendering, you can see that our building now has a roof and looks a lot more like a building and not just a box. So there we go. That's a nice little layout we got right there. We got a couple places for things to go. But how do we test out and make sure that it's going to run okay? Well, one thing cool that SCARM has is you can go in and browse for extensions. And you have all of these different simulators right here. You have, first of all, you have your SCARM license key. You have your Model Trains Simulator Starter Edition, which is totally free and gives you a locomotive and I think about 10 total cars to work with, and they're all European-based wagons. You have some passenger cars and some freight wagons. And then you have what's called the Power Edition. And that is actually what I have, and I'm going to be showing you that, but it works the same way as the free edition. And you would just go basically through the process of downloading and installing this. It's a really simple process, but so you would click that and you would go through the install process. And so I'm going to activate my Model Trains Simulator extension. So now you can see that my screen has slightly changed. We have, rather than parts here, we have different pieces of locomotive power and rolling stock. And then you also have a train controller right over here to the right. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to put a locomotive on there. So I'm going to select a section of track for this locomotive to go on. And I'm going to pick this Union Pacific SD40-2. I'm going to click that, and then I just click it, and boom, it's on the layout. Now you'll see it has 2 arrows just like the track, and that is where we're going to connect our rolling stock. So we're going to go through some of the rolling stock they have here. Let's see here, we have a 50-foot boxcar. We're going to click that one, and if I click it, and you can see that the arrow is right there, I click it and it adds it to it. Let's do a gondola, so let's do a brown gondola. We'll click that, it adds it to it. Let's do an oil tank. I got a 31,000 gallon tank car right there, and I know it's not totally prototypical, but let's add a caboose. I think there's a caboose in here. There it is. And we'll add our caboose. So there's our little train right there. Let's say if I wanted to run this train. Let's go ahead and go over here to the train controller. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to click power. And you'll notice a few things come on. this red icon around the locomotive comes on. That means that that is the one that we are controlling. If I have more than one locomotive on here, you would have to click the locomotive to select to control it. The other thing that you will notice is that the turnouts now have these green lines. These indicate their alignment. So if I click them, they change their alignment. All right, so how do we actually run a train? So you can see over here that I have all my controls and they've all powered on. You see I have forward, back, I have what I'm running, I have a throttle and an emergency stop and the locomotive that I'm powering. So let's go ahead and throttle up. And you can see that I am running the locomotive around the track, and you can see if I were to click this and align those, it works just like that. Now let's say I wanted to uncouple a car, so let's go ahead and slow her down right here. I'm going to zoom in, and you can see that they all have these little bulbs right here that represent the couplers. So what I can do is, all I have to do is click, and you can see now there's two separate arrows. And then you can pull the locomotive away. Let's say you want to reconnect. I'm going to select reverse. I'm going to go back. And as soon as they touch, they instantly reconnect. A lot easier than in real life. All right, so that is how you run this in 2 dimensions, but you see me running it in 3 dimensions. All you have to do is click the 3D viewer button up here. It's in the same place as it is with the design section. And boom, we have a virtual model railroad. And you can see all I have to do is turn on the power. All our emblems are the same, it's just in 3D. And we can start it running. You can also notice that when you change your directions or you stop, you can see that your lights change. So if I'm in forward, my forward lights and my ditch lights are going to be on. If I'm in reverse, I can zoom in to show you this. You can see that my reverse ditch lights and headlights are on. We're going to go back to forward and we're going to run it. And there we go. So that is how you run a virtual model railroad on SCARM. You can also, if you want to take pictures to show people, to send them off, you can click this little snap and you can title your snap and you can save it wherever you are. You can change it to a JPEG from a bitmap, things like that. But that is how you run a layout in SCARM. So, and when you want to get back out of this, all you do is click this X over here and it closes the extension and you're back to your layout planning. So that is the basics of using SCARM. You can really go in depth with this. You can use the figures to create bench work, things like that. You can create helixes. It's a very, very expansive program and it's very simple to use once you get the hang of it. So that is how I use SCARM to plan my model railroads. I've done several railroads with this software. It works very, very well and I'm very, very happy with it. And I've been able to get pretty much whatever I want out of it. So that is SCARM. And there is a free version, like I said, and you can check that out in the link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. They are listed right here. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. A lot of cool stuff, a lot of behind the scenes, things like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading. Hang on. Yeah. Right. Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a not a little bit of one. over SCARM, which is a model railroad planning software. Which is a model railroad planning software. No, it's just model railroading planning software.